Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode of the Becoming You podcast. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 ways to raise happier children. And I was inspired by this podcast episode because I was listening to Glennon Doyle's podcast episode. And in that they talk about, it's called You Can Do Hard Things, or We Can Do Hard Things. And in that they had a expert on happiness. And so I started thinking about, how can we raise happier children? And I'm not saying that I've broken the formula and I'm a perfect parent, but I definitely do believe that I'm a few steps ahead as a parent in terms of raising well-rounded children. And my boys are 8 and 11. And how I used to parent them versus how I parent them now, I believe I definitely am building them up for just being overall happier in life. So I wanted to share with you 10 things that I have personally implemented in my life. And I think that you can too. And you don't have to do all 10 all at once. But I think if you can integrate definitely one or two of them, it's going to help not only you, but your kids as well. And just create an overall incredible environment for them to be happy. So let's define what happiness is. I think a lot of us fall into the mistake of happiness is when there are no problems in life. I know I certainly used to fall into that bucket and believe I'll be happy when all my problems disappear and I have everything I desire. Let's begin by reframing what happiness is. I believe, first of all, happiness is not a destination. I think happiness visits us quite often in life. And I think when you focus on joy, you can then build a happy life. So if you want to be happy, it's really about focusing on building many, many, many moments of joy. And I also think you can create a happy life if you have a positive mindset. And I'm not just talking about positive thoughts. I'm talking about an overall positive mindset, where you feel like life is working out for you, life has got your back, you feel connected to yourself. And a positive mindset is also when you believe that the challenges that you face in life, that they are there to serve you. If we believe that the challenges and the setbacks we have in life are out to get us, then we are forever going to be struggling in life. But if we can look at those same challenges and have the mindset of, how can I make this into an opportunity? What is this here to teach me? What is this inviting me to heal within myself? Then that leads us to have happier lives. So how can we impart that to our kids? And that's what I'm going to be discussing today. So number one, I believe the key to raising happy children is to teach them about feelings. I was not taught about what feelings are, right? I think we talk a lot about what are you thinking, but we don't ever talk to our kids about how are you feeling and helping them label their emotions. Now, children are amazing at feeling. In fact, when we are born, we all come out feeling like knowing how to feel. As children, we're like angry, hurt, sad, disappointed, frustrated. Before we can communicate, we actually only know how to feel. And we don't always know how to communicate those feelings. And so with children, I believe that we can create an environment to raise happy kids if we can help them learn to feel their feelings, especially teaching them how to label the emotions they're feeling. I think a lot of us are scared of feeling personally, right? As a parent, as an adult, we have to model to our kids on how to live life. So if you have a hard time handling and labeling your own emotions, then you certainly are not going to be able to teach your kids to help them label their emotions. And oftentimes we're very confused about what we're feeling, or we don't pay any attention to what we're feeling. And we're so busy trying to get rid of the feeling, we end up in resistance of the feeling. If we can just help our kids label what it is that they are feeling and teach them to sit with those feelings without passing them on to other people like hot potatoes, right? Distraction, avoidance, hurting other people to get rid of our own emotions. If we can teach our kids to do that, we would have given them a huge leg up in life. I'm always telling my kids, what are you feeling right now? And they didn't always have the words to say, but at least it plants the seed in them that they're feeling something, right? And I remember when we went to therapy with my son, our therapist gave him this wonderful tool, this beach ball with all of these emotions written down on them. I'd never seen so many emotion words written. And I think we often get feeling like emotions confused with other things. Like when you say, how are you? We say, I feel fine, but fine is actually not a feeling. I feel sad, I feel joy, I feel content, I feel calm, I feel at peace, I feel anxious. Those are all feelings. But when we say, I feel fine, that is in fact not a feeling. So I think getting our kids to one, learn to label their emotions and feelings, and two, help them validate it. Like they're allowed to feel whatever it is they are feeling, giving them the space to feel their feelings, I believe produces emotionally intelligent children, which then creates emotionally intelligent adults who learn to not only handle their own feelings, but then create space for other people to feel their feelings. There's nothing wrong with any emotion that we feel. And validating our kids' feelings is crucial to their happiness. A lot of us tend to belittle our kids if they've had a bad day at school and they come home, upset or whatever. And we ask them, well, what happened? What makes you so sad? And they give us a reason of like, so-and-so said this at the playground, or, somebody bumped into me and they didn't apologize, right? To us, they might seem like really trivial things compared to the real challenges we have in life. Like reasons for them to feel what they're feeling. So when we laugh, we don't mean to do it, but we do it inadvertently. When we laugh or we tell them, oh, that's nothing, like there's bigger problems or bigger things to worry about, or like you shouldn't feel hurt by that, or that's nothing, or you just need to grow up, right? When we use those kind of phrases, what we're telling them is, hey, your feelings aren't valid. Like you're not allowed to feel what you're feeling. Like you just need to get over it. And when we do that, like we tell them what they're feeling is important, which then leads to a cycle of never validating their own feelings and emotions and suppressing them, which leads to bigger problems. So my number one tip to raise happy children would be to help your kids label their emotions and let them know that every feeling they have is validated, and allow them the space and the time to feel their feelings. All right. Number two is to teach them about boundaries and how to respect other people's boundaries and maintain their own boundaries. And this is so important. It's like boundary, a physical boundary can be their room, right? When they're feeling really upset, it's helping them regulate their emotions. We can't always be available for them to regulate their emotions. So maybe starting to teach them, hey, I see that you're really upset. Maybe need some time alone. Do you want a room, right? My son has a space in his room, a calm down space that he can go to regulate his emotions anytime he feels angry on a scale of 10. If he's above a 6, then that's a sign for him to go to his room to calm himself down. And I'm always modeling to my kids, hey, like I'm not having a great day and I need to go to my room and have sort of quiet time so that I can feel better about myself. And like right now, today, as I'm recording a podcast, I'm solo parenting. My husband's not feeling well, so he's in another room. My kids are off school. And I really did not feel like adulting today. And I told them, mom's taking a day off being an adult. I will be here to help you with meals. But other than that, like mom needs some time alone to model that as the parent, to let them know it's okay to not have it all together all the time, and teaching them how to implement those boundaries and teaching them how to respect those boundaries will then let them know that the next time that they're having a bad day, that they're feeling down or they need some space, it is totally okay to let people know and need this, right? How to is having a balanced life. A lot of us are miserable because we were never taught how to set a boundary, and then we weren't ever taught to how to maintain boundaries. So we give and we give and we give to make other people happy at the expense of our own emotional well-being. So if we can teach that to our kids at an early yourself, but teach people how to respect you. Teach people how to respect your personal space. Teach people how to treat you. Know for yourself when too much is too much, right? Don't let it get to that point. If we can model all of that to our kids, it would be, I think, one of the toughest jobs will be done, is to teach them how to maintain boundaries. Number 3, allowing them to follow their own passions. Allowing them to, this seems like such an obvious one, and you might be like, yeah, Visa, I do that. I let them, follow all their hobbies or whatever. I believe a lot of us, will say yes to an interest they have if it's within the parameters of what we consider like a worthy thing to explore, right? I once had a client where their child was into a hobby that was like way out there. And they had a hard time investing in that hobby because they really didn't see it going anywhere with the future, right? It's like really unusual. And so they were having a hard time saying yes to their child's request. And through our work together, what they realized was that who am I to be the gatekeeper of what hobby gets to be worthy and what doesn't, right? I think a lot of us, sometimes when our kids come to us, wasn't what we envisioned for our children. And so we have a hard time saying yes. Like for right now, my son wants to explore drumming. So we've gotten drum lessons. He wants to explore street dancing, right? Like, I think, especially with having sons, dancing, I don't know, is maybe if you have a set idea of what girls and boys can do, and if your son comes and wants to do something that typically only girls do, we need to re-examine our set ideas of what passions they get to follow or not follow. So allowing our children to be their own person and remove our own agenda out of the person that they need to become. This is really hard as a parent because when we have kids, we have these grand visions of what we want their future to be, and we want the best for our children. And sometimes the choices they make will feel disappointing to us because we want so much for them. And because of that projection, we want to push them, and we can box them out of truly what they were meant to do in this lifetime. And so be careful of being how should I put it? The nurturer of whatever dream they have, and not just nurturing the dreams that you believe are worthy of nurturing. Like I know somebody whose child has decided to go into the entertainment industry, and in the South Asian culture, that's usually not a typical career that we follow. And the entertainment industry in general can be extreme. Typically, a parent might say, well, I don't want to pay for college for that. I don't think it's got a future that's going to pay a lot. It's not stable. As a parent, we really want our kids to be set up for success. But we tend to put boxes and lines around what that needs to look like. And we don't always let them spread their wings to fly, because that can feel really scary to us just because we didn't have the courage to do and follow the passions that we had because it didn't feel safe. In the name of love, we believe we are protecting our children and don't want them to fail. So we really clip their wings, and we don't mean to do it, but we do it to keep them safe. So if you want to raise happy children, then stepping back and really allowing them to follow their passion. And our job is to nourish them and give them the courage and the confidence and the support to go explore that. Number 4 is to let your kids see you unhappy, make mistakes, and fail at things. I think in this day and age of, where colleges are getting super competitive and we want our kids to have all of these accolades and accomplishments to get into the best colleges, we can really not let them fail, right? The last thing we want them to have is a record of where they have failed at things and they did not become exceptional at the things that they did. And I think we really do them a disservice. So the best way to teach our kids that it's okay to fail, because no matter what, we cannot avoid failure in life. And if you are living to avoid failure, then you're going to have a very tough time fulfilling your potential and truly feeling happy, because you're not living life to win. You are living life to avoid failure, which is a very different game that you play at life. So if we want our kids to be truly, truly happy, that means we have to show them that failure in life is okay. Because in order to be happy, we need to feel successful. And you can't get to success without learning how to fail. I recorded an entire podcast episode on changing our relationship with failure. So I would go back and listen to that. I believe it was like episode maybe 48 or 49. And so if we want to raise happy kids, we need to help them change their view, or at least set up a view that it's okay to fail, that it's okay to make mistakes. And that the easier we make it for them to get up after they've failed, the happier they become. And so this goes back to, again, you modeling that you have failed, that you put yourself out there, that you made yourself look like a fool. And none of the, like all of this stuff on raising happy children, it's not just about passing it on to your kids. Like, unless you model this, your kids are not going to learn from you. So you always have to lead the way, right? Number 5, accept them as they are, even if you are scared that they are failing in life. We project our own fears and our dreams onto our children, and we don't allow for their own dreams to flourish. So I know this sounds quite similar to what I said about allowing them to follow their passion, but here's the thing. We want our kids to be kind of perfect, right? We want to kind of edit out the parts of them that we feel is not great, what we consider quote unquote their weaknesses. We want to edge that out of them and replace it with more successful traits. So I'll use my own kids as an example. One of them is extremely sensitive. I would say lives with his head in the clouds. He's a dreamer, and he forgets about the practicalities of life. And I often worry about, and I project him into the future, going off to college and forgetting to submit assignments and falling behind on work and not being an excellent student at college. And how is this going to affect him later on in his career? So we tend to take the traits that our kids have that we perceive as weaknesses, that life in general, society in general, has conditioned us to believe as a weakness, okay? And we project it onto them, and we forecast it into their entire life. Right? So this whole picture that we're painting about how they're going to turn out to be if I don't correct this trait within them gives us a very skewed perception of them. And what ends up happening is we are constantly nagging them and just eating away at their spirit, right? You're so absent-minded. Oh, you never do this. You're always like this, right? We throw these sentences at them and we tell them it comes from a place of love. I just want you to know better. That's why I'm so tough on you, right? We nag and we nag and we nag. And instead of building their confidence, we actually erode away at it. So what I am learning to do and what I have changed myself to do is to accept my children exactly as they are. I'm not saying let your kids do whatever they want. That's okay. But can you find a way to embrace and accept that part of them and try to see it as how can this be a strength in their life? How can I channel this trait, which I perceive as a negative trait? They were born this way, right? And whatever higher power you believe in doesn't create us less than perfect. We were created this way for a reason, not to hate ourselves into change, but to love ourselves into our greatest potential, right? So if I assumed that was the case, how can I see the traits that my kids have as their gifts, right? If they are too sensitive, and instead of me telling them to buckle up and get strong, how can I see that as a gift? From my own personal trait, where I was always told that I was too sensitive, it's my gift to the world because I feel things, very subtle things on a very deep level. I can feel people's, I was in a world sense. And so, but it wasn't seen as a gift, right? If somebody had accepted this part of me and really nourished that and encouraged me and told me that this was a gift of mine, then I don't know where I would be in terms of my intuition today. Instead of having to peel back the layers and heal all this stuff, I don't know where it would be. So learn to, or at least try and train yourself to look at the traits that you currently see in your children as something that needs to be changed and corrected to make them better, and really change your perspective as to God or the higher power that created them made them this way. If I was to assume that it was a strength and it was a gift to them and the world, how would I learn to accept that? Right? And oftentimes we reject the things in our children that we are rejecting in ourselves. I have a client who right now is just going through a tough time with her kiddos. And one of her kids is very strong-willed, takes up all the space, right? In terms of this is who I am, take me as I am, and doesn't do things to please, especially her parents, right? And my client gets really aggravated by it, as any parent would. And so the invitation for her and what I suggested is, what are the parts of you, like she's judging her daughter for being this way, right? And my question to you would be, if you are judging that in your child, that means you're judging that in yourself. How can you learn to accept the parts of you that is scared to take up space, right? Like, how can you learn to be more of you? How can you learn to take up space? How can you be more unapologetically you? You're not letting yourself be that way, which is why we're judging our children when they do that. So the more we learn to accept the dark, the shadow parts of ourselves, the more we allow our kids to be nothing but themselves. Okay? Number 6, examine your parenting principles. So what I mean by that is, are you just simply and blindly following parenting values and attitudes and parenting strategies because that's how your parents did it with you, right? Have you actually examined, like, why do I parent the way I parent? Do I even like what I do? Do I still believe in how I parent and what I tell my kids to do? Again, I always use all my clients as an example. Like if our parents used to be super strict with us and we were brought up as a child to not speak back, just always follow what your parents told you to do. It's not your place to question your parents' decisions. Like if that's how you were brought up, then it's okay to think that that's how your kids need to be brought up, right? Because that's the only parenting model we saw. So we have nothing else to go off of on. So you might be blindly following what your parents did for you, but have you ever actually stopped to question, is this how I want to parent? Is there a different way to parent? And I guarantee you there is. And figure out a middle ground of maybe not parenting exactly how your parents would do it. The pendulum doesn't have to swing all the other way. But I believe that if you are doing, right, a part of you might be like, I really don't like the way I parent, but you kind of suppress that thought and because it just feels like too much effort to explore anything. Or maybe you're scared that, you turned out okay and because of the way your parents parented you. And maybe you're scared that if you changed how you parented, that your kids won't turn out like you did, right? Like you have a stable job, like you're a good member of society, and it all happened even though your parents were really hard on you. So maybe you're scared that if you are not as hard on your kids, then they're not going to turn out that great. So therefore, there's this idea of like, I've got to do what my parents did, right? We're really scared of changing how you parent because you don't want your kids to turn out, like less than their potential. So examine the way you parent and really ask yourself, is this working? Is this setting up a relationship for a future where we are going to be feeling, close to one another, where there's open communication and trust? Or is this more of a relationship where I just expect me to, bark out certain things and I want them to follow orders, right? Is that the kind of relationship you want? And there is a middle ground, obviously. I'm just painting the two extremes. But parenting is unique to every person, and try and realize that a copycat version is not going to work for you, right? Number 7, focus on consistent effort and not the result, okay? I think we often tend to celebrate the A's, the wins at baseball, right? And that's natural. We all want to win. We all want to have kids that do excellent academically. But if we tend to put most of the celebration and emphasis on only when things go well, then we are programming them to only focus on the result. It's only worth celebrating if you come home with an A. It's only worth celebrating if you come home with a win, right? And you might be doing this again unintentionally, but I'm really focused now on appreciating my kids' efforts, even if the end result falls way short of my expectations or their own expectations. And this, again, creates a positive mindset in kids, because I think as overachievers, we are hyper-focused on achievement, and we forget that there's an entire journey involved to get to the achievement. And a lot of us are really unhappy and stressed out and overwhelmed because we've forgotten about the journey, because we don't take the time to savor the journey. We are obsessed and focused on the result. And when the result doesn't go the way we want it to, we feel crushed and our self-worth takes a beating. So learn to appreciate the effort and the consistency that your kids put in, their persistency. If they set up a goal of, saving up money to buy something, right? And even if it takes them 6 months to get to that goal, how can you find a way to celebrate their effort every time? So for instance, my son plays the piano, and he used to get super frustrated about a piece, and if he didn't get it right away. And instead of waiting for me to celebrate him when he gets that piece absolutely perfect, I congratulate him on his effort and the willingness to practice maybe 4 times out of the week, right? So really encouraging your kids on the effort and the journey that they go on to get to their goal will do amazing things for their confidence. And it really will help them reduce the pressure and the stress and the overwhelm they feel on just focusing on the results, right? It's like, this will really help later on in life and be getting ready to go to college and stuff, right? There's so much pressure in junior and senior year of high school and SATs and things. And one of the biggest wins I've had with one of my clients, she's a young learn to appreciate the effort she's putting in. So instead of getting super stressed about, oh my gosh, I hope I get an A in this test that's coming up, that used to just paralyze her with like so much stress and overwhelm and so much anxiety of just be like, oh my God, I got to get an A in this test. Like, what does it mean if I don't? Like, and she used to spiral. Now through so much work, she's learned to, whenever she starts to get that way, she reminds herself of like, I've been putting in 15 minutes or 20 minutes of work every day towards this test, and that's going to count for something. So she's learned to celebrate herself for putting in consistent effort in the hopes of getting the results she requires, and it's taken the pressure off of getting the A because she's learned to celebrate the effort and the journey. So if we can give that to our kids, they're going to be so much happier because they're going to learn to celebrate themselves because of the effort that they're putting in and focusing on the journey. Okay. Number 8, unstructured time. This is so hard in this day and age, especially with COVID, where screen has become so like convenient for our kids to end up babysitting themselves when we're all, doing work, just like I am. Like, they're on their screens right now, my kids, as I'm recording this podcast. But I'm also, trying to encourage as much outdoor time as possible. Even if it's cold, I'll get my kids to bundle up and go outside. And I've learned to incentivize them to go on walks with me. So I go on 2 walks a day. And then if my kids are around and not at school, I'll ask one of them to come with me during one, and then the other one to come with me later on in the day. And before, it used to be such a struggle to get them to come out, especially in the winter, right? Who wants to come out? But now I found a way to make it easy on both of us. So here's the thing. When we want our kids to do things, it's because we want them to do it. It's important to us. But our kids don't feel it's important at all. Then they don't have any investment in whether they do it or not. And so that's why it becomes such a power game of back and forth of like, you need to do it. I don't want to do it. You have to do it. I don't want to do it. Right. And it's just exhausting. So I'm always looking for ways of how can I make this a win-win for them? Like, what would make them want to do it? Right. So incentivizing always helps, but it doesn't always work. Like today, they wanted to watch the afternoon, screen time. And I was like, if you practice your musical instruments for a minimum of X minutes, then you'll get it, right? Like, incentivize them. So they're still in the game. So going back to how do I encourage them to come on walks with me? One of my kids loves listening to books. So I found an Audible book that he could listen to on the walks. So he loves the book. So if he wants to listen to the book, he's got to come on the walk with me. And he gets my phone and my AirPods, and I get quiet. Like, I don't listen to anything. I just walk the dog and he's alongside with me, and like a mile, 2 miles flies by. And my other son, he loves music. He's got a playlist. He's always asking to play music. Music's always on in our home. So I give him my phone and he just gets to listen to the Spotify list. So the onus as parents is on us and how to figure out how to incentivize my kids. What's in it for them? right? It's not enough that I just want them to do it because it's going to benefit them in the long run. They're not old enough to understand that long-term concept. Most kids are not self-motivated yet. And intrinsic motivation is what we're working towards. But until that kicks in at an older age, we really need to build an extrinsic motivation. So I kind of went off topic, but having unstructured time for them to be bored helps foster creativity. And when we are creative, we are happy because it's a method of self-expression. A lot of us are unhappy because we don't allow ourselves to create and express ourselves in any way through dance and art and poetry and music and movement and nature. Like, most of us don't spend any time on creation. And when we don't create, we disconnect from source energy, right? Source is always trying to express itself through human form. And when we cut off that connection, then we become unhappy. So one of the ways that we can raise happy children is by encouraging creativity. And that means unstructured play. So having your kids, just give them a blank sheet of paper and let them color or draw whatever they want. Art is amazing. Let them be bored. Let them go explore in nature. Let them figure out how to play when they're bored outside, right? It's not the easy thing these days. But I think in our strive to make our kids super successful and make their resumes look great for colleges, we tend to put them in a lot of structured things, right? Dance class, karate class, Kumon class, and class after class after class, that they become overscheduled. There's no time for them to explore things without structure. And so I try to build a lot of unstructured time in my kid's life. And I don't know, we'll wait and see how it turns out, right? All right, number 9. Instead of telling your kids what to do, guide them to their own answers by asking questions. One of the factors to happiness, I believe, is when we learn to trust our own wisdom and find the answers that are right for us and not always ask for other people on what to do. This has been an unlearning for me. A lot of us look for outside advice, outside permission for us to help us make decisions because we are so confused by our own internal chatter. We don't trust ourselves to make the right decisions. And that can be really unhappy because people are always only going to advise you based on their values, their perceptions. There is no way anyone can know what is right for you because nobody has lived in your shoes except you. Nobody knows what is right for you except you. Building self-trust is such an important component of happiness. Imagine having the confidence to listen to your own intuition, to listen to your own guidance, and trusting that and following that, knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm following exactly what is right for me. And how can we impart that to our kids? It's by, when they come to you with a problem, instead of telling them what to do, which is so easy, right? Like, we have more life experience than them. And, as parents, we just want to be able to give our kids all of the answers, again, because we don't want them to fail. We don't want them to make mistakes. But what we're doing is robbing them of helping them, teach them to trust their own instinct and to tap into their own wisdom. And so when my kids come to me with problems, I try really hard to not fix their problem and instead ask them lots of questions so they can find their own answers. This takes practice. This takes patience. This takes presence. But it can be done. So get into the habit of asking lots of questions with your kids and allow them to explore. And your job is, you're a guide. You don't have to tell them what to do, but you are like a tour guide, right? You show them the different options, but at the end of the day, they get to decide where they want to go, right? And if I'm trying to make a certain point, I always share real life examples from my own life. Like, oh, you're struggling with this situation with your friend. I remember a time when this happened to me, and this is what I did. And this is what I wished I had done. This is what I learned from it, right? So sharing your own experiences that way and allowing them to decide for themselves what feels right in their body. Okay. It's amazing how intuitive and how much wisdom our kids hold for what is the right thing to do. We just need to remind them to tap into that. So stop giving them answers and instead be the guide to ask them lots of questions to help them make their own decisions. Finally, number 10, in order to raise happy kids, you got to get happy yourself. This seems like such a simple thing, but I think as moms, we want to protect our kids from everything. We believe that sacrificing ourselves is the only way to raise happy children. I've got to give my kids all my attention, all my time, all my energy. I've got to do all the things for them. I've got to fix all their problems. I've got to be everything to my kids. No, stop it. Stop it. If you're always a stressed out, anxious mom and a nagging mom because you don't want to let your kids have any kind of trouble in their life, think about the energy you're going to have around them. Do you think an anxious, happy, overwhelmed mom is going to raise happy kids? Or do you think a well-balanced, calm, peaceful, content mom is going to raise happy kids? It's a rhetorical question, right? But I think somewhere this gets lost along the way. Like, we think once we become a mom and they're newborns, we do a lot of self-sacrifice. There are sleepless nights. They bite at our nipples. It's bleeding. We forget to eat. We don't take showers for days on end because we are the sole provider for that baby to be alive. But as they get older and we get a little bit more of ourselves back, by then we've lost our way. We've lost who we are, and we don't quite know how to get back to doing the things that made us happy once upon a time. We've completely lost in the woods and we don't know how to get back. And so the easiest way to raise happy children is to focus on your own happiness. The more balanced you feel, the more connected that you feel to yourself and your own needs, the more connected to your own feelings, the more you know, how do I give myself the thing that's going to make me happy? It is inadvertently going to teach your kids on how to make themselves happy. So remember, I hope these 10 tips were helpful. Let me know what resonated the most with you out of these tips. And what is the first thing that you're going to start on with your kids to raise even happier children? Right? I love you guys so much. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next episode.